Millions of people all over the world are turning to supplements to boost their energy, balance their hormones, and fill in nutritional gaps. Well, my friend, proceed with caution. Not all supplements are created equal. I found this out the hard way, throwing thousands of dollars down the drain. In this informative interview coming up with my dear friend Autumn Smith, we will discuss what might be lurking in the supplements you are taking today. The last thing you want is to take something that you think is improving your health, but instead have it harming you and your family. I'm so passionate about this subject, so stay tuned and get informed on how you can take this matter into your own hands. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Andrea, your personal wellness connector here, actually joining you from a friend's house because I'm on a road trip and traveling. So I know it looks a little bit different here. And I am so excited to bring my next guest on. Autumn Smith has become a dear friend. She's the co-founder of Paleovalley, which some of you might have heard of. I talk about the company and their products and mission and culture so much because they truly are one of my favorites. But I wanted to bring Autumn on to really debunk this supplement industry almost. So many of you ask me about quality of supplements because I talk about it a lot. And it's something that we don't know because why would we? And the truth is that when you go out there and you decide, I want to change my lifestyle, I want to change my health, I need to supplement in certain things in my life, you go out there and you buy a supplement. And a lot of us are getting them from Costco and from Kmart and other stores. Doesn't matter. I don't want to say good or bad things about different stores, but we are really not looking at the quality of the supplement. And a lot of times you are really just wasting your money and you're throwing money down the drain or down the toilet, whatever the term is, because the supplements are filled with fillers. They're filled with additives. They're actually filled with heavy metals. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and really bringing this to you guys because it's so important. So the last thing you want to do is try to get healthier, but instead of putting good things in your body, you are filling yourself up with supplements that are doing more harm than good. And I want you to be educated on why this is so. And who better to bring on than Autumn, because she's an expert. She, again, is the co-founder of Paleovalley. She knows so much about this. So we're going to debunk some of these things that we think might be good, that might be harming us. So first of all, Autumn, so happy for you to be here. How are you?
Thank you for having me. You are obviously, like you said, a dear friend, and it's just an honor to be here and to help people understand this because it's kind of like the Wild West out there with the supplements, and you can be wasting your money, but I think we can come up with some easy tips that will make your life and your health a lot better.
Yeah, so I think you have such an interesting story. And for the people who might not know you watching, can you give us just like a really short reason of why you decided to create this company with your family? It's family owned. That's so cool. But give us a little bit of your background because you had your own struggles.
Yeah, I did. And I basically, when I was 10 or 11, I started having debilitated digestive issues that no doctor could treat. They told me I had irritable bowel syndrome. And we did, the traditional medications and nothing happened. So as I got into my teens, my mental health started to struggle. We now know there's this profound gut brain connection. At that time, we didn't know it. And so I just kind of struggled along in life. I mean, really struggled, got kicked out of my parents' house. I had substance abuse issues because I was in pain and, I was just suffering. And I kind of, went along this way until I met my husband, and he saw me and the pain I was in and decided he wanted better for us. And so he got on the Google machine, found that the paleo diet was helping people with their digestion, which was a really novel idea back in 2010. So we adopted the diet. My digestive issues got way better. And it just ignited something in me because I was always a fitness trainer. In fact, I was working for Tracy Anderson Method, training celebrities. And so I was always fit, but I wasn't well. I wanted to figure out how to help people get well because I felt like that was my calling and that's what I had achieved that had changed my life. And so we created physical products because what I realized is that people in this are busy today and they don't always have the time to cook every meal from scratch and they don't have the bandwidth to learn about this diet extensively. And so we wanted to just create the products to just say, here you go, take this and you can feel better.
Yep. And it's so important too, because we talk about this all the time and you know this, right? It's diet is so important. Your nutrition is so important. and your exercise and your movement is important too, right? So you had that movement and you were still suffering. And we see so many people, like some women are like, oh, I just want to lose weight. But there's thin women out there that are also so sick on the inside, right? So it's not always like what you look like or what you see, because so many of us are suffering. And like you said, no matter how well you eat, there's certain things that you need to supplement because you're just not eating enough of it in order to get the amounts that you need. And we'll get into that. So let's talk about supplements and why you created this line. And both you and I are stiflers when it comes to quality of supplements. And I talk about this all the time. The company I work with, my company, we do third-party testing all the time on every supplement that we recommend. All the supplements I recommend, we've third-party tested for heavy metals and pesticides and all that junk that's in there. But there's so much more even outside of just heavy metals. So let's talk about supplement quality. Somebody watching might go, well, is it really that important?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about why is it so important?
Totally. Now, like you said, we need supplements in today's world. According to the USDA, over 90% of us are deficient in at least one nutrient. And it's estimated that we need to eat 2 times the amount of meat, 3 times the amount of fruit, and 4 times the amount of vegetables that we did in 1940 in order to get the same amount of nutrition. And that's just not happening, which is why it can provide a safety net when we really get a high quality supplement. But like you said, a lot of these supplements are unfortunately created by marketers rather than people who actually are educated in supplements. And so there's 3 basic things I always want people to look for. Number 1 is the source. What are the ingredients? Are they organic? If they're animal products, are they grass-fed? Are they pasture-raised? Are they raised without antibiotics or hormones? Are they synthetic vitamins, or are they vitamins derived from food? We know that there's certain B vitamins like cyanocobalamin and folic acid that are not absorbed and utilized in the body to the same extent, especially with people with specific genetic SNPs. And so you'll want to find the more active forms, methylcobalamin and folate, or you'll want to get a food-based source. But if you go to a label and it sounds like there's a bunch of chemical like names and they've got numbers and you don't understand it, it's likely that it's not really a source that your body is going to recognize and be able to use anyway, right? Because there's different bioavailability. Our body has evolved to see food and real nutrients and vitamins in their active state as something that can be used easily versus something created in a lab, probably from coal tar or other, horrible ingredients that are linked to cancer and things like that. It's just, they're not going to behave the same. And I have a lot of people I work with who notice that profoundly, like their health does not improve when they go down and get the best-selling multivitamin. But it does when you pay a little bit more and get a real high quality version from a supplement who actually cares and is educated about how to create them. So number 1 is always the source. The second is fillers, right? So like you said, there's so many fillers in products today, and the fillers are essentially what makes processing easier for the manufacturer. Those fillers are not going to benefit you in any way. It's just so their machines can run more quickly, or so they don't stick on the line, or so that they actually fill the capsule enough so that it looks like you're really getting a lot of value. And they just kind of throw things in, maltodextrin, corn-derived ingredients, magnesium stearate, all these other things that have been shown to potentially inhibit the absorption and just water down a product anyway. In a lot of mushroom supplements today, what you're finding is a lot of grains are added. A lot of them are grown on grains, actually. And so then they do not separate the grains from the product. And then sometimes they add more fillers. So when you test a lot of these mushroom products on the market, a high amount, sometimes up to 50%, are just grains. And so you want to, when you look at the ingredient label, a lot of times people will look at just this and what nutrients are there. You want to look at the ingredients. There's tiny little print. A lot of times they make it really hard to read, but you want to look at each and every ingredient, filler, and make sure, sugar. They have GMOs, corn, dextrose, maltodextrin, magnesium stearate. If it's a really high quality company, you can do it with just like a vegetarian capsule and, maybe some rice flour. It doesn't have to have all of this whole long list of ingredients that is not going to do your health any favors and might actually harm you. And
Oh, sorry. Before you go into the last thing, because I really want to highlight this with the fillers. And like you said, they're used for so many different things, right? But to, like you said, fill a product, right? So it's so important. And people do this with nutrition too. Like you said, they look at like the label, right? Of like, oh, how much fat is in this and how much carbs and like what vitamins. But then that other ingredient sometimes, but if it's like 4 or 5 lines, you're just like, oh my goodness. And it's really, like you said, it's really interesting to hear that most of it is then with grains. So should we be looking at a label that says no grains or no corn? Is that important at all? Or have you seen that useful? Or most companies are not really applying that, so it doesn't really like serve us?
No, I don't think most companies are even mindful of that at all. A
Yeah.
lot of people are of the mindset that it doesn't really matter. It's a small amount. But what you have to realize is like we consume about 3 to 5 pounds of just additives in our food supply every single year. And so while that tiny, minute amount might not be enough to trigger a response in you one time, with everybody taking so many different things and our food supply being so adulterated, that really adds up. And so for us, it's a big deal. And we also work with people who have digestive concerns, immune concerns. And for them, it's a different ball game, right? Because you might already have an immune system that is reacting or a digestive system that isn't functioning quite normally. And so, yeah, a little corn in that product, that's a big deal. And so I don't think most supplement manufacturers are paying attention to this, but I really wish they would.
Yeah, well, I'm going to share this video with all of them. Listen to Autumn, switch things down. So let's go into the third one. What's the third important thing?
Well, there's actually two amounts. Look at a lot of times when they do a supplement or a supplement is made, again, like I said, it's a lot of times by a marketer. You want to make sure the ingredient amounts are, what is actually going to be beneficial or useful, and that they're not doing this crazy thing I see a lot of food manufacturers doing, is where they kind of stack the deck. They have all of these lovely organic fruits and vegetables, or like, phytonutrients or whatever, and they're just listing them, and you're like, wow, look at all that. But when you look at the amount of them, it's really small. And then the other ingredients, the cheaper ones, or maybe the ones that aren't actually performing as well, are the bulk of the actual product. I see this a lot in greens powders and in a lot of these children's gummies and multivitamins. It's just like a lot of ingredients that you would be impressed by until you look at the fact that it's not really in there in any significant amount anyway. And then the other one is, of course, like you said, heavy metal testing, pesticide testing, just making sure that the company is actually doing their due diligence and testing their raw materials and making sure that they're not contaminated to begin with. Spirulina is one of these supplements on the market that people can be actually they can be harmed by because of microcystins and toxins like it can actually like damage your liver. And that's because of the way that it's raised a lot of times, where over by China, and they have these kind of like polluted and contaminated waters that it's grown in. And of course, it just sucks that up. And so if you're not really careful, and if the people making this supplement aren't testing for that, you could be just ingesting a bunch of heavy metals and other contaminants that are not going to do your health any favors.
They sure are not. And then
Yeah.
what bugs me is too, like you see this in, for example, every mother to be takes prenatal vitamins. And think about all the stuff in the prenatal vitamins that you're not now feeding yourself and your child. And it's like you said, it's just the source. Some things just absorb the pesticide or the heavy metals, and it's just natural, like tuna fish, right? We know it can have a lot of mercury. So it's okay, what tuna are you getting with the correct source that's maybe tested the mercury before you consume it? Because like what, tuna's good for you, right? That type of tuna.
Yeah.
But like knowing that source and knowing where it comes from, and you guys do just such an amazing job with this. Is there anything else? I can't believe we're already like short on time. This is insane, but I want to keep these nice and informative and short. Is there any other thing that our viewers should be watching for, even with the amounts? Do you have any recommended amounts? I know it's different depending on what you're looking for, but what's the best way for them to figure out, okay, is this a supplement I could be consuming, other than finding it on my website, of course, because that's why
right. Yeah. Let Andrea do the work for you. I love to see things like organic, pasture raised. If you're seeing it like an animal based supplement or anything, a really, really small other ingredient deck, you really want that to be small. You want to look, if it's a multi, at those active forms. I always go right to B12 and look for methyl folate rather than cyanocobalamin. I'm sorry, methylcobalamin rather than cyanocobalamin, and look for folate rather than folic acid for vitamin B9. And if they're not doing those two things, it's likely that they're cutting corners in other places, like using magnesium oxide, which is the least bioavailable form. It's just kind of a quick way to say, oh, this company isn't really going that extra mile. So those are my two. And then, yeah, just making sure that you know something about this company. Like if you didn't get it from Andrea, just check out their website. Does it seem legit? Are they making crazy claims? Is this going to make you lose, 100 pounds in a week or whatever? Just kind of getting the tone of the company down too. I think that's important as well.
100 pounds in a week. All right.
Yeah, well,
every single minute of every single day. Clearly something's wrong. Do not take.
there's some really aggressive stuff out there these days.
Yeah, oh my
Just
gosh.
kinda
Like at first you're like, yes, cleansing. And then a weekend you're like, oh my God, this is too much cleansing. Get it out of me. No, leave it in me. Stop getting it out of me. Oh my gosh, I love it. This was so informative. And ladies, I really hope that you take this to heart, because Autumn and I are not the only ones saying this. I mean, we could have, I could interview a ton of people that will give you that same message. It is a problem. Like Autumn said, it's really about the marketing, and, we're vulnerable. We want to get these things because we want to feel better, right? And I applaud you for wanting to get better. But now let's take it a step further and make sure that when you're trying to get better, you're doing it with the correct stuff. So, Autumn, thank you so much for being here. Love and appreciate you. And guys, make sure you're subscribing for more videos like this. And Autumn, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.